Dropping your kid off at daycare, going to the doctor, or attending classes should not be a life-altering risk. And while I feel a deep sense of shame about the actions of our federal government, I feel great pride in how we in Illinois are responding to it.
America, this is a story about one sentence, one specific sentence from a governor who wants to be president. In December 2025, JB Pritzker stood in front of the cameras in Chicago and said, I'm reading this directly, drop off your kids at daycare, going to the doctor, and attending your classes should not be a life-altering task. He said it while signing a bill expanding Illinois sanctuary protections. He got a standing ovation. The crowd loved it. On May 1st, 2026, the Department of Homeland Security published a press release on their official government website. They named JB Pritzker specifically by name, not by his administration, not by Illinois policy, him, JB Pritzker. And the press release said ICE had arrested Eric Cororo, a Guatemalan national convicted of aggravated sexual abuse of a little person, a kid, who walked out of an Illinois prison because JB Pritzker's sanctuary policies told correction officers not to honor the federal detainer. When ICE agents located him on April 22nd, he refused to stop. He tried to flee in a vehicle. They arrested him on the street. The man that JB Pritzker's policies freed, the man who ICE had to chase, had been convicted of sexual abuse of a kid, and the governor who freed him is currently telling donors that he wants to be the next president of the United States.
I'm going to be more involved than ever before.
What is up, guys? Tyson Dela Cruz here. Thank you so much for rocking with me. Let me give you the entire picture of who we're talking about because every detail obviously matters here. Eric Cororo entered the United States illegally. Of course, Eric Giovanni entered the United States illegally from Guatemala in 2002. He had been in this country without legal status for 24 years. In 2021, he was convicted of aggravated battery with a firearm, a sentence of 16 years. That is not a misdemeanor. That is not a minor offense. He shot someone. He received a 16-year sentence inside the Illinois prison system. Then, in 2025, he was convicted again, and this time for aggravated sexual abuse of somebody younger than 6, a 5-year-old. The sentence was 3 years. I saw the conviction. ICE filed what's called as a detainer with Illinois Department of Corrections. A detainer, just so you guys are aware of it, for those of you that might not know, it's the government's official request that says when this person finishes out their sentence, before the doors even open to let him be free, like Willie, call us. That's all that we ask. Hold him for a few extra hours, and we, ICE, baby, will come get him. Illinois didn't honor that detainer. He walked out of there.
In a statement, Department of Homeland Security Assistant Secretary Tricia McLaughlin writes in part, quote, he must be unfamiliar with the U.S. Constitution. By signing this law, Pritzker violated the Supremacy Clause.
Lauren Biss used the word insanity. That is not an hyperbole here from a commentator, not a campaign ad. The acting assistant secretary of the Department of Homeland Security put the word insanity in the official government website next to JB Pritzker's name. That is how serious they're treating this. And the press release is still up today. And I'll place a link for it down in the description below if you want to check it out on your own. Now, here is the important thing that I need everybody to understand. JB Big Bop Pritzker did not personally look at Giovanni Cororo's file. He didn't sit down and say, release this specific illegal man. That's not how it works. His policies did this automatically. Something called the Trust Act. Illinois Sanctuary City Law tells IDOC officers that when a detainer comes in, they do not have to honor it. They do not have to call ICE. They don't have to be placed on hold. No open doors. All doors are unlocked. And he walks out. Pritzker did not make the call on Giovanni Cororo. His signature chat on the Trust Act expansion did all the work. every time. For every detainer, automatically, while he was at a church in Little Village talking about dropping kids off in daycare, illegal hombres are getting freed up. I want to get ahead of the argument that Democrats are going to make about this entire situation because it is coming and you need to know the answer to it. I know. Some of you guys, and I do too, have liberal friends, have Democrat friends. We could be friends. We just don't agree on politics. Someone is going to bring up to you that the Trust Act was originally signed by a Republican governor, which is true. That is a check mark. The former governor signed the original version in 2017. That is an actual fact. In 2017, a Republican signed a law saying ICE state officers should not generally use state resources for civil immigration enforcement. Here is what the argument conveniently leaves out. JB Pritzker took that 2017 law and expanded it. He expanded it. He strengthened it. And as recently as December 9th, 2025, the same month, DHS was documenting 1,768 criminal illegal aliens released by Illinois. JB Pritzker, signed the House Bill 1312. That bill added courthouse protection. It banned civil immigration arrests at hospitals. It required hospitals to protect patient immigration status, and it limited data sharing with ICE.
All of those places will also be required to complete organizational planning to uphold the rights of their attendees in the event of immigration enforcement. The bill would also allow for civil lawsuits against officers who are accused of violating the constitutional rights of Illinois residents.
He expanded it in December 2025. The same month, DHS sent a letter to Illinois Attorney General documenting that 4,015 criminal illegal immigrants were sitting in Illinois jails with active ICE detainers, among them 813 sexual offenses, 41 homicides. He reads the letter, signs House Bill 1312, and stood at a podium to explain why ICE is the real problem in Chicago. The Trust Act in 2017 was the floor. Pritzker built the walls. The wall that freed Giovanni Cororo was specifically his signature, JB Pritzker's signature, his expansion, his choice to defend it publicly at every freaking turn here. Here's the detail that makes this more than a policy disagreement. Pritzker did not quietly sign this expansion. He made it a celebration. He drove to Little Village, of course he did, the heart of Chicago's immigration community, and he performed. He performed like the band that he is. Listen to what he said that day.
After what our communities have experienced, we understood that our response needed to be deep and comprehensive to counter the Trump administration's depravity. So today, I'm signing a slate of laws designed to protect our people, to recognize the dignity of our people, and to uphold the values of our Constitution. We have seen federal agents routinely target places where everyday people were simply trying to live their lives: hospitals, schools, and child care centers. This has never been about fighting crime. Never.
Our people, he said, our people. And Giovanni Cororo, a man who had been convicted of shooting somebody in 2011 and convicted of actual abuse in 2025, was among the people that policy was protecting. Not because JB Pritzker knew his name, but because the law Pritzker celebrated that day didn't ask for names. It just says, don't call ICE when you got the hombres locked up. The Department of Homeland Security called this policy's insanity. And on April 22nd, 2026, ICE agents had located Giovanni Cororo on the street because the building that should have held him until they arrived had already opened up the door for El Hombre to El Escapo. Let me quickly walk you through what happened when ICE finally found Giovanni Cororo, because the vehicle pursuit detail is not just a footnote, it's the entire story here. After he was released from prison without ICE being called, federal agents began tracking him. On April 22nd, they located him. ICE conducted what they called a targeted vehicle stop. That means they found a vehicle on the street and attempted to pull it over. Obviously, He didn't stop. The official DHS statement says he refused to stop when giving lawful commands and attempted to flee in his vehicle. ICE officers pursued him. They eventually stopped his vehicle. He was arrested.
We're going to have to look at all of that. It's way too early to know what the coordination level really would be, but I get it, and I that is something that anybody should call out as something we ought to focus on before we would fully commit.
He said he's concerned about coordinating with federal agencies for security at a future convention. That is the same man whose policies blocked coordination with federal agents for the detainer on a convicted child PDF. He trusts federal security to protect the Democratic National Convention delegates. He doesn't trust federal immigration agents enough to make one phone call before releasing a man who abused a 5-year-old. That is not a policy position. That is a choice about who matters, period. End of story. Giovanni Cororo is not a one-time failure here in Illinois and Chicago slipping through the cracks. He is one of 1,768 criminal illegal immigrants released by Illinois since January 20th, 2025. That number is significantly higher as I record this video, without ICE getting notified. That number specifically came from the December 2025 letter ICE Director Todd Lyons sent to Illinois Attorney General. 1,768 people, all of them released without a call being made. And right now, today, there are 4,015 foreign nationals sitting in Illinois jail with active ICE detainers on file. ICE has officially asked. They said, hey, can we be notified about what happens when these guys, right before you release them, give us a call. Illinois is honoring 0 of those requests. Among those 4,015 people, 813 are there for actual offenses, 51 for homicides, and more than 1,000 of them for assaults, 120 for weapons offenses. The Illinois Attorney General never responded to the December 2025 letter from ICE Director Todd Lyons. Never, not even an acknowledgement. The letter just sat there, and Giovanni Cororo's door stayed open. Now let's talk about JB Big Bop Pritzker's presidential ambition, because this is where the story stops being about policy disagreements and becomes about a man who's asking the entire country, the whole country, to trust his judgment. In late April 2026, JB Pritzker flew to New York for Al Sharpton's annual political conference. This event apparently is well understood in the Democratic politics arena. It is where potential presidential candidates come and introduce themselves to the important voter coalition. Okay. JB Pritzker was one of roughly 10 Democrats who showed up. A local news reporter described the moment absolutely perfectly here.
Call this the unofficial campaign for the White House in 2028, now underway in New York. And Illinois Governor JB Pritzker is a part of it.
Al Sharpton is hosting a parade of presidential hopefuls this week. It's seen as an early audition for the Democratic nomination. Our political reporter, Marianne Ahern, listened in to today's conversation between Sharpton and Pritzker. She's here now with an answer, hopefully, to the question, are you going to run for president?
He has been asked before, all right? And as we are not the only ones listening, but if you listen to the various answers that Governor Pritzker has given over the last year, you should also watch today, because the body language and the long pause, they're all a signal of where this is headed. Governor Pritzker is one of about 10 Democrats who are speaking at this week-long conference in New York. And here's what he said when asked again about his intentions to run for president in 2028.
I'm going to be more involved than ever before in 2028 because we can't lose. My answer is, I don't know what I'll be doing after. I hope I win re-election after, but I can tell you this, I'm going to fight like hell to elect a Democrat in 2028.
The quote-unquote involved answer, the non-denial denial, the Hyatt Hotel air touring Al Sharpton stage. This is what a presidential campaign looks like before somebody announces that they're actually running. And on May 1st, 2026, while the New York press conference was still fresh news, the DHS published the Giovanni Cororo press release, named him on the official government website. DHS Acting Assistant Secretary Lauren Biss asked publicly, where is the investigation into his own policies that allowed this PDF to be released from jail and be loose in Illinois communities? That question is on the DHS.gov website right now. His name is in the press release right now, and the man, JB Big Bop Pritzker, who wants to be president, was answering questions at a New York conference about what he'll, quote unquote, be involved in after his reelection.
Are you going to be that Democrat?
First of all, I'm running for reelection as governor right now. I'm going to be more involved than ever before in 2028 because we can't lose. And so we look, we have a pretty good bench. In fact, you've invited so many of them to come right here, and they've been on this stage, or they're going to be. So that's my answer. My answer is, I don't know what I'll be doing after. I hope I win re-election after, but I can tell you this: I'm going to fight like hell to elect a Democrat in 2028.
Fight like hell. That phrase in 2026 politics carries weight after everything that happened at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. But the more important phrase is, I don't know what I'll be doing. He's not ruling it out. He's measuring the field. He is a billionaire heir who signed a bill expanding sanctuary protections. In the same month, DHS documented 1,768 criminals released without ICE notifications. And now, JB Pritzker is standing on Al Sharpton's stage talking about 2028. America, here's the piece that hasn't been said plainly enough. Lauren Biss asks, where's the investigation into JB Pritzker's policies? House Republicans have DHS Secretary Markwayne Mullin, who has been asking the same questions publicly. And Illinois Trust Act is now facing some serious federal challenges in court because of the Supreme Court ruling on the Illinois redistricting case from late 2026, opening a new bundle of arguments about federal supremacy over state sanctuary laws. Two separate legal challenges are running simultaneously here. Illinois is going to have to defend in the federal courtroom the exact law that freed Mr. Giovanni Cororo. The same law JB Pritzker celebrated in Little Village. Giovanni Cororo is now in ICE custody. He is in removal proceedings. That part is handled. El Hombre is going El Home. And 4,015 people with active ICE detainers in Illinois is still not being honored. That part there is not being handled. 813 of them who have actual offenses. Pritzker wants the American people to trust him in the White House. He wants to walk onto the debate stage and explain how Illinois is the model of values and compassion. He's going to stand there and explain why when ICE filed a detainer for a man that was convicted of abusing a 5-year-old, his state said no. Dropping your kids off at daycare should not be a life-altering task. JB Pritzker said that. Tell that to the little girl. Let me know what you think about this. Drop it down in the comment section down below. Smash the like button if you kindly would. Share, subscribe, and as always, guys, I'll catch you on the next one.